Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Electronic Duty of Care call for October, hosted by Victoria Vaughan-Williams. My name is Dave. I'm the event manager. During the presentation, your lines will remain on listen only. If you require assistance at any time, just key *0 on your telephone and an operator will be happy to help. I'd like to advise all parties that the conference is being recorded for transcription purposes. Now I'd like to hand over to Victoria. Go ahead, please, Victoria.
Thanks very much, David. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar from the edoc programme. As David said, my name is Victoria Vaughan-Williams, and I'm the Partnerships Manager with the edoc team at the Environment Agency. I'm going to be taking you through the first part of this webinar and introducing you to edoc, telling you what it's all about, benefits of using it, and then start to show you some of the key features where we'll go on to the test system and do some demos. And then I'm going to hand over to our other presenter today, which is Brian Marshall. Brian is the Environment and Compliance Manager at Economy, which is the UK's largest waste broker, and he's a member of the edoc board. It's likely we probably won't have time for formal questions because of doing the demo, but you can sort of send your questions to us afterwards by email, and the email is there on the screen, which is our inbox. But you can also ask questions during the webinar using the QA tab at the top of your screen. If you type the question, then click Ask, and we'll collect these at the end as well. Just some other housekeeping issues. Hopefully you can hear and see this okay. As David said, if you've got any problems, lose connection, do dial *0. We will be accessing the edoc test system as part of the webinar. We have run tests on this and a previous webinar in September, so we know it works okay. However, in terms of how smoothly the visual element is displayed at your end will be affected by the device you're looking at it on, but also the streaming capacity of your broadband. So if you do experience some delays, it's likely that this may have restrictions on your broadband width. Right, okay, let's get started in terms of the introduction. So what I'm going to talk to you about is a little bit about the background since we launched the edoc or Electronic Duty of Care system in January this year. I'm going to give you a few details about the project, about what exactly edoc is, some benefits of using it, a little bit of an insight into how it's developed, and then finally we're going to look at those key features which Brian and I are going to demonstrate on the test system itself. So organisations, both public and commercial, in the UK are obliged to deal with their waste that they produce and ensure that they store, transport and dispose of it without harming the environment. This is what the UK terms as its duty of care regime, and this means that there is written information needs to be completed when a business transfers their waste to another party. This can be in electronic form, but more usually at the moment it's probably a traditional waste transfer note which is in paper form. Businesses have to store these notes for at least 2 years, and it's estimated that there are something like 23 million paper waste transfer notes produced in the UK. So you can see that will cause businesses issues with storage, administration, but also retrieval of the information that's on those notes. So what is edoc? Well, it is the Electronic Duty of Care system, and it is a new national electronic system where businesses can create, share, sign and store their waste transfer notes online. We're hoping that it will transform the current static paper-based system into one that's up-to-date, live, in this continually changing way of doing things. It's free and it's relevant to all businesses that produce non-hazardous waste. So that can be anybody from a large supermarket chain to a national construction company or to an SME, and then also to the companies that manage the waste for you, in particular waste brokers and waste dealers. Moving to edoc isn't mandatory, but we hope it provides an opportunity to completely change this static current paper-based system and therefore bring a whole host of benefits. It will be a modern approach so customers can move away from paper and move it all online, which means that they will save time in terms of filing, searching and retrieving records. And also, as an online system, it means you won't have to store that paper anymore, saving you money in terms of the necessary retrieval costs, and also it will cut down on that use of paper. If you use edoc to comply and manage your waste, it will also give businesses the tools to interrogate that information and get access to their waste data much more easily and give them opportunities to improve efficiency and reduce waste, and also help transition our activities from what is traditionally a linear waste management approach in the UK to much more of a circular one. That means it will improve your tracking and understanding of your waste and also hopefully improve your compliance. Businesses in the UK are subject to spot checks on their waste transfer notes under duty of care, which means that edoc hopefully will allow regulators, external and internal auditors to verify questionable activities more easily. In terms of a waste transfer note itself, often information is incomplete on the paper one and can also be wrong. So using an online system which has inbuilt features into it will help produce high-quality data, because there are user functions within the system which actually will help you determine what needs to be put into various fields, like drop-down menus, autocomplete, and some prediction tools as well. And we'll be showing those as we use the demonstration system. So a little bit about actually how you access the system. With the partners in terms of developing edoc, we sought to maximise a range of attributes and work in an agile way. It was to develop a system that was flexible, it was ultimately scalable, but also ensured data security for the user. It's also flexible in terms of the way that you can access edoc, and you can access this through what we term an application programming interface, which is essentially a software tool. And this is a way that big businesses in particular can interact with the system so that there's direct communication with their existing computer systems, which they may hold information on, and edoc. API is in the form of sort of two technologies, SOAP and REST, and it will be able to transfer significant amounts of data quickly and easily, avoiding the need for double entry. Alternatively, we have the web portal, and that's what we're going to look at shortly. And this is more for smaller businesses where the information you put in should be familiar to you, and it is what you would traditionally see on a paper waste transfer note. To offer a bit more flexibility to this web portal, we've also created a file which will describe several transfers, and you can upload this in one go in a single action. This helps improve handling of medium to large quantities of data, and it provides an alternative to the API for smaller businesses. So what are some of the key features of edoc? Well, its main purpose is to create, share, review, edit, sign, and store your waste transfer notes online. This means that both parties will have access to those records within the system itself. You can also choose to receive automatic notifications and also see a log of actions and changes which have occurred to your waste transfer note. You can create a season ticket, which allows you to include multiple wastes and containers and frequencies, but you can also do single transfer notes as well. As I said, you can retrieve your information and also create downloadable reports, which will hopefully be useful to you in managing your waste management activities within your business. So this is just a bit of a screenshot of a waste transfer note, and hopefully you can start to see what the system looks like. We'll explore this more fully as we move forward. But these categories and fields should be familiar to you if you're involved in transferring waste, and they should sort of replicate what's on the current paper waste transfer note. You start to see some of the features like these drop-down menus, but also where we've got these little eyes, this will tell you what we call a tooltip, and is a little bit of information about what is required within that particular field. This is another sort of drop-down menu. This is for the EWC codes, traditionally a common area which people struggle with on filling in a paper waste transfer note. The system itself is either you can choose your EWC code through a series of menus, or if you know the code or start of it, you can start typing and edoc will predict some suggestions for you. Or if you don't know it at all and all you know is that you've got waste plastic, if you start typing waste plastic, it will suggest those which have waste plastic in their chapter code. So hopefully you can see that these features will hopefully make it easier to fill in some of these, and as I said, drive high quality and consistent data and information. These are little tooltips that we've installed within the system itself. So these will tell you, for a particular field, what is happening. In this particular case, it's talking about that edoc is generating an estimated weight for you. We'll see some more of those as we go into the demonstration system. This is just a wider view of it, and this is a view of a prompt or predictive text action within the system where you can start to type a business name and edoc will try and suggest other businesses with that particular name who are already registered within the system. I've mentioned that the reporting feature is obviously a key part of edoc, and this diagram just explains the type of report and how that feature is actually structured. In terms of a user and what business information they can generate what is called a business report firstly, and this will help them understand the waste transfers that they've been involved in. So for example, it can answer questions such as how much waste do I produce or handle in a year, or what type of wastecoat do I produce most or handle of. The level of information returned is controlled by the level of detail that you select. And Brian's going to be just sort of, running a few simple reports to show you what they look like. Next, we've got what is called the edoc All Waste report, and this provides an overview of all waste transfers from all businesses recorded on edoc. But this uses, as you can see here, aggregated and anonymized information, so that sample sizes are restricted and in place. So if the sample size is too narrow, the query is blocked. All this means is that information is only reported where there's a sufficient number of waste transfer notes so that individual businesses can't be inferred. We've also got a series of waste tonnage return reports, and these are sort of optional features which are designed to help you. In particular, some businesses have to submit a quarterly return of waste tonnage to their regulator, and edoc can actually help you prepare that report. Lastly, we've got what is known as the data export here. This is available to only a few trusted parties, in particular DEFRA or government and RAP. This information is the raw information from the waste transfer notes, but again it is anonymized to protect commercial confidentiality. So that's a bit about the reporting system. So in terms of actually, I'm sure you're itching to get started and actually look at how you do. Well, the first thing probably is to visit our website here. And in terms of what you'll actually see on the website itself, we've got quite a lot of sort of information in our help and support menu here. In particular, we've got information such as some how-to videos on particular key aspects. We've also got a test system here, which is what we're going to be demonstrating to you on today. We've also got some frequently asked questions about a common task and implementation plan. And there's lots more information here about what edoc is, some of the security features, and also some information about what other people are saying and some case studies, and also some news about what edoc is actually up to. So you can find that all online at www.edoc.co.uk. So this next part of the webinar, I'm going to be talking about registering your business, because every business needs to register to be able to use edoc, and then we'll look at the test system and explore how we add and manage sites and users. Then I'll pass over to Brian, who will look at completing a waste transfer note, which is really the heart of the system, and he'll look and explain a little bit more about the bulk upload feature for the web portal that I've talked about, and also reporting for your business. So when you're ready to register, you'll go through our website and you'll see at the top corner, if you remember, there was a button which said register your business. When you press that button, you'll come to this screen. Hopefully here you'll see that there is some sort of summary information about registration and your business. So this is just to give you a little bit more information. You'll notice that we've included some sort of help and advice, as I said, in terms of these little eyes, but we also have a video on registration. I'm not going to show that now because that can be problematic in terms of live screening, but actually it's well worth looking at that and having a view of it. The actual process of registration is actually very simple, but we do recommend you have a bit of a think about it before you actually start on the system. edoc is designed to make it easy to record your records, but also to interrogate your information and get valuable support and information that your business might need in terms of its waste management. So how you register your business is flexible, but it's entirely up to you. But, for example, you might choose within the system to register at an organisational level. This means that you would then add other businesses, divisions, or operation as sites underneath that. Where we talk about sites, what it is just a shorthand way to refer to one of your business type operations. You might choose to register different businesses in your organisation separately and then to add any operations and sites underneath those. Or you might choose to register each part or site of your organisation separately. It is entirely up to you, and how you register is, as I said, something you probably want to think about, particularly if you want to see data for specific sites or divisions within the business as well as the organisation as a whole. Some of the things you might want to think about when you're actually deciding which one is for you is, first of all, how your customers are used to seeing your business name appear. The name that you supply at registration will be visible to other users. So when another business is actually trying to add businesses involved in a waste transfer, the name that you supply could appear as a suggestion as they start to type. So if you've got an organisation with several business divisions and your customers are used to dealing with the divisional name of a business, registering at a top organisational level, which has a different name, may not be right to you because it won't be visible to the other edoc users. You might hold waste registrations or permits or exemptions. For example, if you're within your business, if your organisations hold these, it may be appropriate to register each business separately, aligned with your registrations. Also, it depends how you would like people within your own organisation to view waste transfer notes. So a user created under one registration, for example, Business A, will not have visibility of waste transfer notes for another registration under Business B. If somebody in your organisation wants visibility of waste transfer notes across the organisation, you will either have to register at the organisational level, or if you register your businesses separately, you would have to give them the different credentials for each business that you register separately. As I said, how you register is entirely up to you. There's no wrong or right way of doing it. It's whatever suits your business and the structure that you have within that. But however you register, you'll need to identify a business administrator. This is the person who actually registers first time, and they're the ones that will manage and maintain your account. They will be able to add more users and specify what tasks that user can perform. They'll also be able to edit and add further sites or locations within your business. So let's now, without further ado, go into the system itself, and we log on to the test site, which is accessible from the Help and Support menu. So this is just a little bit about the test site. The test site itself is an exact replica of the live site, but it's just another tool which gives the opportunity to go in and have a bit of a play around and familiarise yourself with how edoc works. Maybe trial it with some of your customers or your waste management company just to see how things actually work. When you're ready and you want to register, it's exactly the same process as you would do going into the live system. So you click on this button to get into the test system itself. So I've already registered a business for...
Victoria, that's not showing up on the screen at the moment.
Oh dear, isn't it? All right, it's showing on my screen. Okay.
Did you share it?
Okay.
Yeah, we got it now.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry about that. I told you there were some gremlins about today. Okay, so we have logged into the test system itself. And what I'll do is just give you a sort of a quick tour around the system and explain some of the drop-down menus, and then we'll look at some of the administrative tasks, and then I'll hand over to Brian. So what we've got here, the first thing that you'll actually sort of see are these sort of useful message banners, for want of a better word here, and these This is a green banner, so this tells you that you've done something successfully. If you see a red banner, that indicates there's a problem that you need to address. You can, obviously, once you've seen that, you can get rid of it quite easily. Across the top, we have the menus for the different parts of the system. So we've got transfers, which is where you create and view and search transfer records. Then we've got reports, which we talked about, which is where you can access some of those reports I described earlier. We've got a set of frequently asked questions, and also a business menu here. The notifications is where a regulatory body can actually, within the system, ask to see a waste transfer note. This is exactly sort of to replicate the paper-based process where they could ask to see your waste transfer notes. But this is to take the opportunity of an electronic system and do this within the system itself. You have to agree that they can see those transfer notes, otherwise they won't get visibility of them, and if there is something for you to see, there will be a little different colour on the bell up here. In terms of the menus, we've also got these quick links down here, and this is just a quick way to get to some key tasks quite readily. For example, if you just want to create a waste transfer note, it allows you to get to that bit of the system more speedily. We've also got a bit here about how the waste transfer notes and the process, which Brian will describe when he is completing a waste transfer note. On the right-hand side is the business menu, and that's what I wanted to just sort of talk about. Here you'll also see an individual bit of the system, and this is where you can actually log out and also change your password and also set your own signature PIN to sign waste transfer notes. But let's look at the business menu, and the first thing that is on this drop-down menu is the Manage Business. This information is the information that you added at registration, so you can go in and edit that if you need to or things change at any particular time. The next thing is about managing your users. We obviously understand that you'll want to have more than one user in your business, and this is the menu where you would actually be able to manage that particular functionality. Okay, so in terms of managing users, I've got a few already. Myself and Brian are actually in there, but some key features about adding users is that you can give users different roles which can restrict their access to define parts of the system. If we actually, it's very easy to create a user, and you just go to the main button of creating user, and you can see that all you need is a couple of key pieces of information, which is that you assign them a username, add their email address, and then assign them one of the 4 roles that's available to them. This means if you just want them to create waste transfer notes, you'd assign them the waste transfer manager, or if you just want them to be involved in reporting, that would be what you would assign them. And then you just press the big blue create button, and that should just create a new user for you. So you can see that it's actually quite simple and straightforward. In terms of actually managing your users, you can do that individually like I did with Create a User, but also you can upload your users in more than one at a time. So you can use what's known as, we've described as the bulk upload feature, and we've got a template that you can actually use to do that. That replicates exactly the same fields, and all you do is just fill in that template, save it somewhere, put the information you need in it, and then when you're ready to upload it, you would go and find it, say, if you'd saved it on your desktop. Once you've done that, press the upload button, and hopefully it would actually just transfer adding more than one user in at one single step. Let's look at also just lastly, myself, managing sites. I have already added a few sites, but in terms of what this area is about, again, there's this sort of blue summary section here which gives you a little bit more information about what this particular area of the site is about. We also have a how-to video on this, so recommend that you actually access that from the main website and have a look at that. As I said, we've designed edoc to be flexible in the way that you set your business up, and you can organise your sites in a hierarchy that matches your business structure. So, for example, if you have lots of sites in one geographical area or in a particular business division, you might want to do it like that. Or you can have a completely flat structure it is entirely up to you. And again, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's just really how you want edoc to work for you. Some of the key features in terms of the sites is that only the business administrator will be able to add and manage your sites. But don't forget, you can add another business administrator after registration, particularly if you want to share that administrative activity and manage periods of leave. You'll also be able to edit and change details of a site in your business, whether it's added at registration or at any other time. And you can, again, like for users, add sites individually here, or you can upload using a different template. The template, again, will match the fields, which we'll look at how you add a site in a minute. In terms of adding a site, the process is very straightforward and leads a couple of key bits of information. But as I said, you may want to think about what you actually do and how you structure your business. We've got some frequently asked questions within this section which may be useful to look at. In particular, I've talked about you can set your sites up in a hierarchy. So let's just look at this sort of question and a simple hierarchy and how you might actually use this in edoc in terms of what it actually means for you in terms of reporting. This structure can be replicated on edoc, that's no problem, but what it's actually showing you and what the benefit of setting your sites up like this is that if you set your sites up here where A is the parent site, and that's the site that you would add at registration, and then you can add other sites, B, C, D and E afterwards, using the site A as its parent. What this means is that you will be able to report on sites within this northern region of your business, but also a southern region of your business, also organisational level, so you'll be able to run reports which include sites A, B, C, D and E, but also individual sites as well, so you'll be able to run reports just for site D or just for site E as well. Let's go back to the managed sites and actually just look at how you might want to include your sites. You can have what is known as an inactive site within your business, and I have added an inactive sort of site here. This is really just to try and replicate your business structure on edoc itself, and what it means is that that site won't come up when you actually are looking for sites when you create a waste transfer node. So it's really there as a sort of a placeholder to help you put your structure and business on edoc more successfully. So if I look at adding a new site, I've got a northern region, so I want to add another site in my northern region. I've got a site 4 that I actually want to add. So let's just call this North Site 4. Then all you need to do is actually just start typing the postcode, and obviously that will generate a of sites for you. Pick what the correct address is, and it will fill that in. I won't fill in the parent for the time being. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then obviously you need to just type in your SIC code for that particular, which you should know for your business. Then you can fill in other information if that site has a waste exemption, for example, or permit. If you tick, I don't have one of those for my site, but if you did, you would obviously include your license number for that. Then there's also the opportunity to fill in email addresses for people who you may want to be contacted when there is a waste transfer note for that particular site and when there is a change for a waste transfer note for that particular site. So you can have as many people to contact as you like, just sort of, add as many as you need to. And then it's just as simple as actually just creating a site, and it says I've done it successfully, so there's that green bar again, which I can just sort of get rid of. And if we go back to the managing sites, you can see that I've added a north site. So this would be essentially sort of a flat structure where I had the head office, I had north site, and I could have these other sites 1, 2 and 3 also added there, but actually I've set my hierarchy up so that I can actually report on the northern region. So all I'd need to do is just go in and edit it and link it to its parent site. Its parent site is actually this placeholder that I put in of the inactive, being inactive, which is the regional division sort of headquarters. Save the changes. I've made the change successfully, and we can now see that I've actually linked my north site up to be under my structure of the Northern Division. This means that I will be able to report on that Northern Division of all those sites, 1, 2, 3 and 4, all in one go, but I'll also be able to report on sites individually as well. So that's all I wanted to say, probably taking a bit to run over a bit there, Brian, sorry. So I will hand over to Brian now, who's actually going to take you through a waste transfer note and look at how we actually create that within the edoc system.
Hello everybody, my name is Brian Marshall. I'm the Environmental Compliance Manager for Economy, as Victoria said, and also an edoc board member, and I'm just making my screen appear now. And you can see now on the screen the login for my user with the list of key tasks down the side. Now, firstly, I'm going to go through creating a waste transfer note. Obviously, you can do that from the menu at the top. Just click Create, or you can use the shortcut on the screen there in front of you. Initially, we'll first decide what sort of waste transfer note we're going to create. In this case, we'll just do a single waste transfer. Obviously, that's pre-loaded today's date and time, but you can put in there whatever's relevant. In this particular case, we will produce a container of mixed construction waste, which then brings us on to the EWC codes. Now, these are very easy to find. You can either start typing in the type of waste you've got to search, or I know this is going to be a 17 code because it's construction waste. So I've started to type in numbers, and as soon as it gets to a point at which it can give me some suggestions, they start to appear on the screen. And what I want for mixed construction waste is 170904. Now, obviously, you can also do that from drop-down menus, so you can select the chapter, 17, the subchapter, other construction and demolition waste, and the waste stream, which is mixed, obviously. If you don't know the code, and gives you a chance to work into that. The reference ID is there purely for the user's assistance. It allows you to give a particular waste stream a name, so that when you get around to reporting later, you can pull that that ID out, so you can report separately about this particular waste stream, or maybe this is waste from a particular location, a particular area of site. So again, what you can put in whatever you like in there, but that does then allow you to report on it later. We move down to then the container type. In this particular case, we've got a skip without compaction. It's a single container, and it's a 6 cubic meter container. And you'll also see that based on the information I put in there, there's now an estimated weight appeared in the weight information with a little tooltip there. And if I click on that, you can see a window is now opened up that gives you the factors that have been used to create that particular waste transfer note. The assumed density, the compaction factor, the number of containers, and so on. Now obviously that's only an estimated figure. If you want to then update that, because at some point that particular skip's been over a weighbridge, then you have a better estimate, you feel might be more accurate, then you're perfectly liberty to type in the number into there. It's also something you can go back in and follow up later. The tracking information is an optional area that allows you to see further down the line what a subsequent transfer has done with that material. So obviously at this stage this is first being produced, so that tracking information is initially blank. And equally, if this particular transfer was for waste going into a waste transfer facility, adding the additional information into the tonnage returns information boxes would allow you to then assist you in creating the reports for tonnage in and tonnage out returns for the facility. But obviously they're not mandatory requirements, they're just optional. In this particular case, I'm the transferor, the current transferor, the current holder of the waste. This is my business, so I just click on the button there, and it asks me which of the sites I belong to. It then allows me to automatically complete the rest of the boxes. You can see it's pulled the SIC code that's been created in the other point. You've also again got facility here to be able to put in a reference code, maybe an audit reference or something like that, that allows you to identify this particular waste movement, and also an option for putting some notes in there. And again, you can see from the little tooltips, they remind you what you can put in there. If the site did have an exemption or a permit, again, those details would appear on the screen. Now, again, I'm transferring this waste from the location I'm at, so if I just click on copy address and transfer, that just transfers it over. But if this happened to be a different location, then you can type in the postcode and you can put in the details for the different locations. It also gives you opportunity, if you're moving waste within your own business, to identify this as an internal transfer. So from a legal point of view, there hasn't been a transfer from one party to another. You just moved it internally, so then you can mark this up as an internal transfer. Maybe if you were operating a waste facility with a number of different licensed areas, you might use the internal transfer to keep a record of the material that's coming through your reception facility, and then an internal transfer maybe to the different types of recycling facilities within your business. Then we move on to the person receiving the waste. In this particular case, we've got a virtual waste carrier set up, and if I start to type in the name, we've got our Coventry waste carrier, and that gives us all the necessary details. And again, there's another box there so that the transferee can put in their reference, and you can also see they hold a registration number and a permit number, and both of those bits of information have appeared at the bottom there. Final area is if there's been a broker involved in this movement, and just to show you, I'll put a broker in there. I put in economy. That then populates our details in along with our registration reference number and broker ID. Right, now I've completed that. At the point at which I could at any point save that if I had to go off and do something else. There's no validation at this stage, so you can fill out part of the information, go away, check some other information, come back, and the system will save that information. If I'm now happy with all of that information, initially you can see at the top there that the waste transfer note is described in its draft state, and at the moment only you as the creator can see that draft waste transfer note. The next stage for that is to move on to a shared note, and the thing that changes at this point is there's a series of validation checks made on the note, so if there's any information missing or incorrect, or as far as the computer can ascertain, then you'll see a notification at that point. That's also at that point, once it's been shared, that document, the other parties involved in that document will get an email telling them that they have that there's a new document that refers to them on the system. So if I just click on submit at that point, we've got a validation error. I happen to know I missed one thing out down the bottom there, because it looks for a contact name for the broker. Likewise, if I'd missed out an SIC code or any other of the bits of mandatory information, it would have reminded me about it and highlighted it in red, as you can see. And if I now submit that, we should have a shared note, and at that point, emails have now been sent to both the transferee, the person who's receiving the waste, and the broker to say that a new document has been put onto the system. The other thing I wanted to show you at this point is another means of putting a waste transfer on. You can see from the menu there, you can create, you can search, you can view all, or you can upload. And what I want to just demonstrate now is how you do a bulk upload. If we go to the bulk upload screen, You can see, as Victoria described earlier on, there's a CSV template you can download. Now, what I've already done is downloaded that and pre-populated a file with a number of waste movements, which I can go and pick up on my desktop, which is where I put it earlier on. Now, initially I put on that I haven't completed correctly, so you can see what happens again when it goes to the validation process. I've just clicked on that, and you can see that it's identified that for some reason I've managed to mistype the waste code and produced an invalid code. The other thing to remember with this, once it's uploaded, if there's a validation error in any of the lines on the form, it doesn't import any of them. So you don't have to go back and try and work out which ones you've done and which ones you haven't. It effectively rejects that CSV and allows you to go back and put it right, so you won't end up with duplicate movements. So if I now go back in again and pick up my live demo waste transfer notes and open that and then upload, we should get a little green message that says it's transferred 10 single transfers into the business. You can see that at that point it's done the validation, and it will also have notified other parties on the note for those 10 I've just added on. The next thing to mention, looking at waste transfers, if we go into the list that allows us to see all of the waste transfers, you can see when you've got a list on the screen like that, that you can see the notification of the state at the side there. So you can see there are shared notes and agreed notes. Agreed notes are when both parties have signed the note. So if we go back in, we can filter what's shown on that screen so that we can open, if we just want to change that so that we can only see agreed notes. We'll just uncheck those boxes and save that. Do that search, and you can then only see the agreed notes. So it allows you to very easily see which ones have been agreed. So if we then change that back so we can just see the shared notes, we'll take off the agreed one, put on the shared one, and I'll take you through agreeing a waste transfer note. If we look at that particular one we've just created, the view button allows you to view the note. You can see then the content that we put on earlier on. There are a number of actions. So you can create a copy, you can review revisions, or you can download. What we want to do is sign as transfer all, because that's what we are. And we'll do this. There are a number of options. We can sign it with the username and PIN, which is what I'm going to do in a moment. We can sign using a signature image, so you can upload an image of a signature, or you could upload an image of an entire waste transfer note if you've created a paper waste transfer note that you're now creating a separate record to sit alongside, or alternatively, if you've got a big computer system that this information is coming off, you can merely confirm the signature is retained locally. And what that will mean is if a regulator wants to see a signed version, then they'll be coming back to the local location to ask for a copy of that waste transfer note. But in this case, we'll sign it with the username and PIN. You can see it knows my name, and I need to put my PIN in there and sign that. And that should now show that I've signed it. But it won't move to the agreed point until the other party's signed. So if I've got a note that's already been signed by the waste carrier. Now, at the moment, let me just go back and find one of those. And once that signature's put onto the system, then it will be that's already been signed by the Coventry Waste, which Victoria very kindly did for me earlier on. And we now go into our, as the waste transferor, again we'll sign with the username and PIN, sign that. And you can now see the note has moved into the agreed state. That's now been signed by both parties. The other thing I want to point out while we're here with the waste transfers, if we go back in and we decide that we want to change the content of a note because it transpires some bit of that information was incorrect, and if we go down to that one I was just looking at, one of these agreed ones, and view it, you can see there is, if you edit it, there's nothing stopping you from changing any of those details, but anything that is changed is clearly tracked in the revision, so you can see the old entry and the new entry and who changed it and when they changed it. So if something has been altered, it's very clear who's altered it and when it was altered. Another thing you might want to do in those circumstances is to maybe go in and change the waste transfer note weight to an actual weight. So I'm going to show you that. Very simple to do. Just go into the edit. This particular one actually maybe weighed 3.14 tons because we've been over a weighbridge with it. We save that. And you'll now see, if I look at the tracking actions at the bottom, should fall off the bottom of the screen, tracking actions, view revisions, you can now see that today at 12:20, I changed the weight from 3.1 to 3.14. So again, you've got a very clear audit trail for that. And each time anything's altered on a note, then the information is the fact that something's been changed will be notified to the other email parties to say that something's been altered. So we've added a weight in, they'll receive a notification to that effect. The other thing to point out is you don't have to trawl through the notes one at a time to sign them. If I want to sign the notes I've just uploaded, I can check half a dozen of them. Click on Sign as My Business with username and PIN. Click on Sign, and I've now bulk signed all of those documents. Hello. Where we've got errors. That's one that's been set up where I'm not permitted to sign it. So we'll just have a look at that. Not sure why that one doesn't want to sign, but that's in principle how it works. Moving on to reporting. Victoria mentioned the business report. That will give all of the information on this particular business. The first set of boxes, level of information, defines how much information you go into. So if we go down to monthly details, we'll go via region, which is the lowest level, and we'll group it by EWC code. So that allows you to break down the EWC codes. We'll set the dates so we've covered a reasonable range, and we've got somewhere there's. So effectively, the second box down allows you to see things that are filtered. So you could put in your business ID keyword. You could limit it just to a particular business name or site name. What I'll do is leave it for the moment for all of the documents that have been shared or agreed. So we've got a reasonable number of bits of information, and you can now see a breakdown of the waste produced by region that we've been entering as part of this demonstration process, broken down by EWC code. You can also see that the predicted weight column shows where it's just using the weight that we have predicted as part of our as when we've entered the note, and you can also then see the ones that are where there's a recorded weight, and you can see the little bars at the end there. The West Midlands there, you can see some of these have got a lot of actual weights recorded against them, whereas some of them are just using the estimated weight. So you can immediately see at a glance whether this is data that refers to estimation or whether this is data that refers to actual information. And then from there, the other report we have is an edoc all waste report, which again, if we set a reasonable time frame, will give you an indication of the amount of material that has, the amount of movements that have been put into this test database. So I won't put too many filters on, just execute that. And you can see in our test database for this year, the number of transfers, 70 different postcodes, and again, as Victoria said, if there's anonymization been applied to this, so that if you were looking at a specific postcode and that would allow you to identify the individual user, then the system won't let you report to that level, so that your data remains confidential to you in your business. Other people can't get into that and see any of your information. The other two reports you can see there are the two waste tonnage reports for tonnage returns. They don't do the returns for you, but they do provide you with the correct information to allow you to transcribe it onto the returns forms. And that's taken through everything that I was going to cover today. Victoria, do you want to look at whether we've got any questions or?
We have got a couple of minutes, so yes, there were a couple of questions that actually sort of came through. One of them was, are you still, do you want me to take over, Brian, or are you,
quite happy to click on the screen if you want to talk.
That's fine. Excellent. Good news. Right. One of the questions was about adding sites in bulk. So yes, I think if that's perfectly possible. So that's under the managed user sites, which I mentioned, and I think I showed you how to do one in just on the single where it says add new site, but there is an upload sites button which is available, and again there is a CSV template file which you can download. It has exactly the same parameters and fields as you would use that I showed you through the web portal. So that's asking for the name of the site, it's asking for its address, and also if you're linking it to any other sites because you're trying to replicate a hierarchy within edoc itself. So yeah, perfectly doable to upload more than one in a single movement. The CSV files all have a top limit of 250 lines of data, so there is a limit on them, but if you have more than 250 lines, obviously you would have to maybe split your CSV files themselves.
I think probably the other thing that's fair to say, if you're wanting to upload that sort of number of sites in one go, then you would probably be better off looking at interfacing your system directly with edoc using the API, because that obviously allows a dynamic transfer and there are no limits on numbers. It's much more user friendly, but obviously that requires a considerable amount of programming to allow that to be achieved. But because the website itself is really set up here for smaller numbers and for direct interaction rather than very large numbers of movements or large numbers of sites.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's useful. Thanks very much, Brian. Also, I have another question about whether they're a waste contractor. I presume this is a business who actually has is a producer of waste and they're wanting to know if their waste contractor needs to agree to use edoc before you can register to use it. Well, certainly you can register to use it, but yes, all parties who are actually involved in your waste management do need to be registered and using the system before you can sort of fully do everything and transfer stuff online. Because as Brian showed in his example of creating a waste transfer note, we had obviously him as a producer and he used a different waste carrier, if you like, who was accepting or taking away that waste from him, and they were on the system. So to be fully electronic so that everybody can sort of see and share those notes and sign them, then yes, all parties need to be on the system.
I think the other thing to mention is you can invite other parties to join the system. There's a mechanism within the business that again allows you to upload registration invitations, so you can get edoc to send an invitation directly to your waste contractor, or alternatively you can ring them up and ask them the question. I know and there are waste contractors starting to register now, so it's possible they're there, but if they're not, then the first thing to do is to remind them that you'd like them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, and Brian's right. Certainly, do have conversations with your waste contractors, and certainly ask them the question if it's something that you want to use. Definitely do prompt them in terms of actually looking at that. Somebody's also got a question, Brian, you may be able to have about the sort of API flavour of the system, because I know Reconomy are using the API. You wanted to know sort of how scalable it is in terms of the number of transactions that can be processed on a daily basis. I presume that's whether I could pass that question to you, Brian.
I have to say that's probably getting a bit technical for me. I don't believe there are any practical limits, although I know with all of these things there's going to be an upper limit, but that would be something that we would need to talk to the IPL about, and maybe just get a response on the maximum number of terms of transactions. Although I would suspect it's probably a very significantly high number, because I know the system was designed to be able to take the transactions from a major waste management company and be able to work interactively with those transactions. Obviously, it's interacting at a program level, so it goes much more. It's much quicker, and it requires a degree of programming. But that I don't think there is a significant limit. But again, we can get back with a response to that with the precise answer, because I'm sure there will be one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brian's probably right. It was meant to be a scalable system, so I think the API probably no upper limit. But leave it with us, and we will just check with the developers on any specifics. But I believe that is actually quite a significant number anyway. Okay, I think as we've sort of run over a little bit more time, we've obviously got the questions that were, so if we didn't answer yours, then certainly we will do so by return, no problems. And if you haven't asked a question now because actually you want to go away and have another look at the system, particularly in terms of the test system, then we'll actually do send us any questions to the edoc mailbox. I just wanted to say, just as a final thing, thank you very much all for sort of attending. I hope it's given you a bit of a flavour about what the edoc system is and what it can do. I think the aim has really been to try and get you thinking about how you will use it within your business. We've shown you some of the flexible features and some of the ways to actually maybe structure your business. As I said, there's no right or wrong way of doing it, and we really definitely encourage you to actually have a look at the test system, which we've been using, because it's an excellent way to familiarise yourself with things and try things out for yourself. Obviously, our approach to development was to make things flexible, so it is possible, that businesses can achieve what they need to in terms of records and information. It is doing the same job as the paper-based system, but it is different, so it may not be exactly replicate how you do things now. So realistically, a business is going to want to look at what they do now and then see if they need to actually adapt anything to make the system work best for them. So again, thank you very much for your attendance. Do have a look at our website, www.edoc.on edoconline.co.uk, and there you'll find those pieces of help and support that I mentioned in terms of the videos and also how to access the test system itself, the live system, and lots more information, as I said, case studies and information about the system itself. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Victoria and Brian. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your call for today, so you may now disconnect. Thanks for joining. Have a very good afternoon and evening.